Welcome to episode 48 of Shane Talks 99. It is November 5th, 1999, and I am going to be completely honest. I'm really not interested in doing this episode. Not at all. Nothing about me wants to be recording right now. But I have committed to doing this podcast. This episode needs to come out tomorrow. I've made it all the way to November, so I'm going to go ahead and finish Shane Talks 99. But this is going to be the hardest episode that I've done because I really uh it's going to be hard, and it has nothing to do with the three movies that I need to say a few words about. As of the recording of this episode, Dave Maier passed away yesterday, and honest to God, nothing else in life really matters right now. I've had the honor and the pleasure of spending a lot of time with the Maier family over the past week, and while it has been not fun to be there for the end. I was really glad that I was there. I'm glad for me to have a support, but I'm also glad that I was able to be around members of Dave's family and Jason's family. And just being around a bunch of people, other family and other friends who all love Dave Maier as much as I do and whatnot. So again, I didn't really write up a script for this episode because I don't really want to talk about stuff. So I just kind of put some bullet points up here for me to go over. If you're unaware, Dave Maier is Jason Maier's brother. Jason is the one who does the regular Shane Talks podcast with me. And while this hasn't been publicly announced yet, I'm just going to go ahead and mention it right here now. I have told Jason that we are suspending the regular Shane Talks episodes for the rest of this year. I told him I believe it is more important for him to focus on his family, to be around Dave and his family. Oh, I'm sorry, to be around Dave's family, Jennifer and his kids, being there for his kids and not having to worry about me coming up with scripts and stupid stuff for us to talk about over the next couple of weeks. So, regular Shane Talks is going on hold until 2025. The plan was always to do, not always, the plan in the recent year has always been to hit 99 episodes, and we were always going to do that 99th episode released on May 1st of 2025, which is the exact 5-year anniversary of the day we recorded or released our first episode. So we've got like 5 months next year to put out 4 episodes. So I'm pretty confident we can find time to do that. We were wrapping things up for a reason. So um yeah, that break that we were going to take, we were going to try to get to episode 98 here this year and then take a big gap until the 5-year anniversary. That's just kind of being shifted now. Like I said, I feel like it's more important for Jason to have a lot of family time and not have me bothering him with scripts and concepts and what should we do this week and things like that. Yeah, so Jason does not have to worry about me doing yet another Christmas episode or talking about Christmas movies or talking about Mariah Carey or any of that kind of stuff this year. So I'm sure he is going to be fine and happy about that. So Train Talks 99, I'm still going to finish out this year. We've come this far. Not gonna you know not gonna quit on this. Um, Promise next week's episode is going to get back to what it normally is. I should have some time to process and everything. And I mean, like the three movies we have to talk about this week, I didn't rewatch any of them. I've had too much other stuff going on this past week. There's a lot of more important stuff going on than rewatching these three movies. First movie to talk about is Michael Mann's The Insider. Stars Al Pacino and Russell Crowe. It's a biopic. I don't remember liking it. I doubt I would have liked it if I had found the time to rewatch it. It was nominated for 7 Academy Awards. It didn't win any of them. Second film to talk about this week is called The Bachelor. It has nothing to do with the stupid reality TV series, but I remember the movie being just as stupid as I find that reality TV show. So this one stars Chris O'Donnell and Renee Zellweger, two actors that I do like a lot, but in a movie that I just didn't like. So I don't really care about not rewatching that one. The third film to talk about this week was The Bone Collector. It is one that I do remember liking, but I also, if I remember right, like there was something in the third act that I didn't like. So if I had had the time, I would have liked to have rewatched this one, kind of seen how I would have felt about it, but I didn't. Didn't have time. This one stars Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie. Um, Again, maybe sometime in the near future, I'll give it a rewatch. I feel like a couple of years ago, I caught it on TV and again was like, oh, that's right. This happens in the third act, and I didn't like that. But sitting here right now, I can't remember if that's right or true or anything. So those were the three movies that came out this week. I don't really care about any of them. So on this podcast, I've spent, 10 months of time putting together, stuff that I love about 1999, movies that I love about 1999. And I mean, like when I sit there and think about it and have been thinking about it, a big part of why I think I love 1999 so much is not only just as a movie year, but just as a nostalgic year for me. Dave Maier was a huge part of my love for this year. History lesson. It was the day after Christmas in 1998. I actually went to Clearwater that night to go watch the movie The Faculty, which had just come out. After I got out of the faculty, I swung by the Castleton Arts movie theater where Jason was working and was hanging out with him. Made some comments about how I really need to find a job and all this other stuff. And Jason was just like, dude, why don't you just go talk to Dave? You like movies, like Clearwater's always hiring. There's no reason why you couldn't get a job there. And so I did. And 1 week later ish, it was the first week of January. I ended up getting hired and doing my orientation. I believe January 3rd was my orientation of 1999. I think January 6th was the first day that I actually reported to work. Um, the first movie that I ended up seeing was A Simple Plan, the Sam Raimi movie, which technically came out in 1998, but I always associated it with 1999 because I saw it on, I want to say, January 3rd of 1999. Um, so yeah, so Dave Mayer, I mean, I don't know exactly the length of pull that he had, but whatever he did, he got me the job there. I wouldn't have applied there or gone there had it not been for Jason suggesting going to work for his older brother. Um, Working with Dave was absolutely amazing. It was a year and a half of my life that I worked as Dave Mayer's employee. He was my manager there. And we literally had some absolutely amazing shifts together. He constantly was recruiting me to work summer movie camp with him that year. He'd always bribe me to stay late for a shift, like if somebody called in or whatever, and he needed somebody, to cover something. Hey, Shane, stay and work tonight's shift with me. You get to work with me, and I'll trade out for your dinner. So I got a free dinner, and I got to hang out with Dave. Um, Man, like let's see, so summer movie camp bribing me to stay late. A lot of movies that I've talked about on this Shane Talks 99 podcast were movies that I watched with Dave at employee screenings. Like specifically, the one that stands out the absolute most was when I saw The Matrix. I had not seen a preview for The Matrix when it was coming out, so that early in April, when Dave came to me and he was like, "Hey, you staying to watch The Matrix with us tonight?" Like our other friend Nick and Jason was coming, and I think there was like six of us total, and I was like, "Well, what's The Matrix about?" And he was like, "Dude, it's the new Keanu Reeves movie. Does it matter what it's about?" And again, I mean, Dave just could convince me to do anything because I really enjoy hanging out with him and spending time with him. I remember working the opening day of The Phantom Menace with Dave. We did 24 hours of The Phantom Menace. We started the first showing at 12:01, and we showed it on the hour every hour until midnight. I know Dave came and went during those 24 hours. I came and went during those 24 hours, but I remember being there and working that with him. The only movie I have ever walked out of in the theater, and I mean, I've been a part of some really bad movies that I have sat through the entire thing of because I had to promo screen them or test screen them or whatever it's called. Dave and I were watching The Out of Towners together. We were the only two people in the theater. It was, a night that we worked together that this print had to be screened back in the day when it was film prints. You had to screen the movies every night just to make sure that there were no misplaces in them. This was all before digital. Digital changed everything. But when it was actual film and you had to splice that film together, you had to watch the movies to make sure there wasn't a missplice so that when the actual audience was watching it, things didn't, get screwed up. So Dave and I were like halfway through this movie in theater six, and it was so bad that Dave was like, "You want to go play video games?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So Dave went out, put Time Crisis 2 on free play. And because of where Time Crisis 2 was in the lobby, we could prop the doors open to theater six, and we would still be able to stand at Time Crisis 2 and look over and see the movie on screen to make sure that it was still in frame. So doing nights that Dave did video games was always fun because if I was closing the concession stand or whatever, he would end up putting all the video games on free play, and he would be like, "Hey man, when you're done with concessions, go play some video games." And because of the way that it was set up, people leaving the movies couldn't get back into the lobby, so we didn't have to worry about random people getting to play on the free play, but they'd funnel out the sides of the building. So I got to play a lot of free video games because of Dave when I would close with him. Um, Dave knew that Jason had trained me on some projection stuff over at Castleton Arts. So Dave, I mean, even though I wasn't like technically, because at Clearwater you had to be on the management team, like they had their shift managers. I can't remember what their actual term was. Leads maybe they were the only ones that were supposed to run the booth, and if there wasn't a lead there, then it had to be a manager up there. So if Dave didn't have a lead on shift with him and he didn't feel like running the booth, he knew I knew how to do it, so he would send me up there to be his projectionist for him, even though he really wasn't supposed to. So that was fun. I remember Jason had taught me how to thread projectors, but I didn't know how to build up or tear down movies yet. And so Dave was like, "You want to learn how to tear down a movie?" It was one of the nights, so we had a promo screening. So it was a print that had to be torn down that night because it was being picked up like either that night or like 8 a.m. the next morning or something like that. So we had to stay and tear it down. Um, and so we're tearing it down, and Dave had threaded everything up onto the teardown table, and then he popped out the center ring because he just wasn't thinking. He cranked that teardown table up to full speed. That print flew off of the platter onto the ground. Film shattered not like shattered, that's not the right word. Film spooled out everywhere onto the floor, got all tangled up and twisted, and we were there for hours that night trying to get it all we're trying to find where the splices were to break the splices to then be able to try to get the film back onto the reels. And it was an insane experience learning how to not tear down a movie the first time I was being trained how to tear down a movie. A lot of my love of 1999, it doesn't just come from all of these movies and how, I mean, it does because there is a lot of movies that came out this year that I've talked about that I feel like changed cinema, pushed cinema forward, changed the way cinema was consumed by the audience. I feel like specifically for me being the age that I was, there was a lot of films in 1999 that captured my youth and captured what was going on, like, in the youth of the 90s. I love all of those things about 1999, but my love for that year is rooted in working at that movie theater at that time because I loved that job so much. And I really loved working for Dave because he is one of the greatest people I know in my entire life. Besides being my friend before he was my boss, he was an amazing boss and he continued to be an amazing friend for the 25 years since then. Um, so yeah, I will always be grateful for being his employee and just having a lot of great memories about him at the same time that there were all these movies that I loved and got to experience a lot of them with Dave. So that's that. That's the episode for this week. The three movies that came out this week don't matter. There's way more important things. Never forget to tell people that you love them. Um, because words cannot even begin to describe how much Dave Maier is going to be missed, not only by me, but by everybody who knows him.